We here at the First, the Last, the Nerdom are back with another dive into the printed page with Flipping the Pages with ML and Tom. The show where we step away from the screen and into the world built through ink, imagination, and storytelling. Each episode, we pick a novel, comic, or graphic novel and break it down the story, the art, the themes, and decide whether it's something worth your time and shelf space. This week, we're heading into one of the most beloved independent fantasy comics of all time, ElfQuest. Specifically, the first 5 issue story arc that started it all. Created by Wendy and Richard Pini, ElfQuest blends high fantasy with deeply personal storytelling, following a tribe of elves as they struggle to survive, find their place in a harsh world, and uncover the deeper truths about who and what they are. What begins as the story of exile and survival quickly expands into something richer, a tale of identity, community, love, and destiny, all wrapped in expressive art and a tone that balances warmth with real danger. We'll be talking about how those first 5 issues establish the world, the characters, and the emotional core of the series. Whether ElfQuest still holds up as a must-read entry point into fantasy comics, so grab the issues, turn the page, and join the tribe. This is Flipping the Pages with ML and Tom right here on First, the Last, the Nerdom. And we're here with a special guest, my sister, Opal Mitchell. Welcome to our show.
Hey.
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna get to paying the bills here to before we get to the main event here to just do, and we're gonna truncate this because we do have a special guest, so we don't want to make her wait any more than we are. Who are we? We are First Last Nerdom, and our website is firstlastnerdom.com. You can find me and Tom, many different things there. We're always working on it. It needs a little bit more work. We're not happy with the design, but also home base primarily is on YouTube at First Last Nerdom. And Tom, I think you're going to lead up the socials with the Reddit, and then
Which is pretty much dead. First, last Nerdum. Everyone I've posted has been deleted by the Reddit moderator,
yeah,
monitor filters. So I don't think you'll be coming over from Reddit anytime soon. If I can figure it out, I will. But maybe it's because I'm just posting links. I'll try like just posting some stuff. But yeah, if you do see me there, I'll be First Last Nerdum. I'm also on X. If you want to find out what our newest video is, you should be able to find it there. I'm under First Last Nerdum on X. And Mike, you have some X as well.
yes, sir. I also am on X at Sofa King Jewish _, and you can find me and Tom, and occasionally we'll bandy about some nerd topic or news that we have. But for this one, Tom, now I believe that you have some history here, and we've covered a lot on Flipping the Pages. We've covered the DC, the Marvel, even a book or two, and where does this wonderful graphic novel series where to come from? What is it? What's going on here?
Well, it's been with me and my sister for decades now. It's kind of hard saying that, but it is decades. We're very young. I think I was a teenager. You might not have been one yet, but there's, you go to the mall once a week as you do back in the 80s, and there was the two big bookstores in the mall was Walden's Books and B. Dalton's. And it was at B. Dalton's. We saw this the spine that said ElfQuest. It was on the top shelf, so I had to reach up and grab it and pull it down. It was actually the second volume of the graphic novel. So we didn't actually start at the beginning. What we're going to be talking about today, it was the second set of books. But yeah, we were kind of mesmerized by the art. We would every week we would go and pull it down and take a look at it. And finally, I saved up enough money to buy it, and yeah, so we've been enchanted by ElfQuest ever since. I don't know if Opal has a different kind of memory of it, but yeah, she became a much bigger fan than I did. But yeah, it's something that's been with us for, like I said, decades. But Opal, what was your recollections of that time?
About same, really. I mean, I remember you were the only one that could reach it even. I mean, tall enough to even get it off the shelf. But yeah, the art was just actually got a copy of it here, but um this is the one that we looked at, and it's just the art was just so cool, and the coloring was so neat too. It wasn't done like any comic books we'd ever seen before. So yeah, it just was very intriguing.
Yeah, and at that time, I don't think we'd been to an actual comic book shop. We were used to things like Spider-Man, X-Men, GI Joe. We weren't prepared for a big fantasy story. The art, it was unique in of itself. This came before the big explosion with the independent comics, like with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and things like that. So this, I think, probably if it wasn't, it was one of the very first independent comics that we saw, and we didn't know what independent comics were at the time. We just liked liked what it looked like. But yeah, it was such a unique art style and telling a fantasy story where we're used to just regular superheroes. We weren't used to reading stories that were so unique and different, and even in a fantasy genre, it's quite different. I mean, it's not Lord of the Rings, it was telling a very unique story with a unique art, and it was just there's nothing like it. And even today, there's not anything quite like ElfQuest. There's not. It hasn't been imitated or been done to death. And I think Wendy and Richard Pini has such a tight control over the creative of it that they don't let like some cheap cartoon show come out. They've been kind of working on doing like either a movie or a television show, but every time they try to do it, the creatives try to change a certain bit of the plot point or the characters. Opal can back me up on that. What have you heard?
Well, even in the cartoons, they wanted to even lighten up the skin tones of the children, in the book, and they're like, no, that's not, you kind of make it more PC for, cartoons in the morning or something like that. They're like, no, 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 that's not what we're geared towards doing. And even I did a little bit of research on graphic novel genre, how that came about, and they actually were the very first a graphic novels in a bookstore, and not just in a comic book store, but an actual retail bookstore. And so they were one of the first ones. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, you're muted, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, can you tell that I've never done this before? Anyway, no, no, that's what the cool thing about this is. There's such history. This was way before, Bone or other ones. It really reminded me. Aspects of it kind of reminded me of like Fern Gully, that type of thing. But it's its own thing. And Tom had mentioned this before, and I kind of came in a little bit, understanding a little bit of the history, but this is the first time we're covering it. What was the draw for you both that made this like so interesting at the time? Like, was it just it hit the right place, right time, and it just captivated you, or go from there?
Well, I think since we got the second one, it started off with the two main characters. And I think that it was like best friends type of characters, on a quest together. And I think that was part of my draw that I liked. And because me and my brother, we were best friends growing up, so I think that kind of drew me in. And also the art just floored me. I mean, I
Mhm.
wanted to draw like her, and it was a female artist and female writer, and her husband, help edit it and so forth. So that to me was such a cool influence as a female, to see that they had that, and they was, and the art was just beautiful to me, and I wanted to, and I like to draw and paint myself, but that just really got me into wanting to be an artist myself.
Yeah, and Yeah, back in the 2010s when they were trying to say that this the decade for women writers and artists in comics, and acting like there hadn't been any female artists or writers previously was kind of a affront to me, because ElfQuest was always there. She, Wendy Pini was always a huge influence to me as a comic book person, and she's legendary, and to kind of thumb your nose at the legacy, and try to pretend that that you didn't have these amazing females in comics is crazy. But yeah, it was, it wasn't like the fact that it was a female writer and artist didn't turn me off as a kid. It was, I just wanted really cool stories, and she was there to tell these really cool stories. So, and also the thing with ElfQuest is it looks child friendly, but it's not. So it's
Yeah,
almost like we kind of felt like we were kind of getting away with something. It was our Game of Thrones, not quite Game of Thrones, but yeah, it has an edge to it that
sure.
isn't normal for what the art kind of represents. I think that's one
Right.
of the things that people kind of have a struggle with trying to translate it to film or television, because they want the childlike, the the kiddified kind of art of it, sort of, but they don't want
Disney-fied. Right.
they want to kind of smooth off the edges, but
Right.
those edges is what makes ElfQuest.
No, no, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and to kind of set the table a little bit, this broadly speaking, this is it's a tribe of wolf bonded elves that are driven from their home by humans, essentially, and then they have to go essentially kicks off this adventure or quest that they have to do, and this was cool because they actually represent, like they show that just like humanity, humans have different size, shapes, colors, all that stuff. This is also a reflection of that as well.
Yeah, they travel through the desert, this very arduous journey, and they meet up with another tribe, like you were saying, and they they're kind of at odds at the beginning, but
Who are
between
these
Cutter,
people? Yeah.
yeah, between Cutter and the healer of the other tribe, they bond literally, and form a tribe unto themselves. But yeah, one of the things about that's amazing with ElfQuest, because you got your main characters, Cutter, and then on the other side, Lita. The But there's so many different characters, and the one that I kind of bonded with, or kind of really became my favorite was Skywise. But I think everybody has their favorite their favorite elf personality, and it's not like they're all kind of just in the background.
Right.
They all are unique and have a story unto themselves, which makes it really engaging.
Yeah, and you said Cutter, and he is the chief, the main character essentially, but he's the chief of the leader of the Wolf Riders. Um, and how about your favorite character, Opal? What's your where do you come in? Where like versus Tom?
It was better actually. He was the one I liked the best. I mean, I like Lita also, but I was drawn to his character for some reason. And another thing about the art I wanted to mention was he was one of the few people that actually fleshed out the background and put lots of detail when most other comic books, they just left it kind of bland looking. And so that's another reason why I've enjoyed her stuff so much, because she put a lot more work into her art.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's more art than comic, so to speak, which makes it kind of timeless in a sense. It doesn't. This could have been. It does have A lot of comics kind of date themselves because it's like so Spider-Man, you're gonna draw it of the 70s, but or 80s or wherever it takes place. But with ElfQuest, it's kind of, since it's fantasy, it's kind of timeless art. It doesn't look like, it doesn't look 80s to me. It just
No,
kind of,
no,
or
not
70s. Yeah.
no. I mean, just opening it up and like what your expectation of a typical comic book would be. It's colorful or kind of you're very plain, kind of cookie cutter because they have to punch out a million of them. But just kind of opening this up as we're speaking here and kind of just seeing it, and maybe other people out there who see this, if you're watching, you can see that this already setting the tone for how much detail and the color and the different. They're not afraid to use color. Like whereas I think an American comic or standard comic book would be, this would be way out there for them. So obviously they're doing something different and unique. Is that part of the aspect that it was comic book, but it was different than what you were used to?
Hmm.
Was that essentially the draw of it as well?
Right. And I wanted to show too the books that we
Oh yeah.
actually read. I'm trying to get the glare off of it, but it he used a lot different types of coloring in it originally. The one that we saw, it's a little
Yeah.
bit different. And she was kind of not crazy about that, but I mean, you could even tell from the cover this was the first one, and it's so much
Oh.
different. Yeah, it's the colorations and the way she did the colors were a lot different on this version of it, and she did that over and over again because this was only like the scant printing of the story, and then she reprinted and redid it actually about the other one.
Yeah, it was originally black and white. The when the original issues came out,
Okay.
And
and
this
then
was
it was. Go
yeah,
ahead.
they reprinted it this time. I think every time they reprinted it was because the other ones would be out of circulation and nobody would really know about them at that point.
Right.
So they
Right.
would do it again. And I was trying to think what was the
Yeah,
next.
and sort of like George Lucas each time, she would put it out again. She would tweak the art, and make it
Sure.
a little different.
And this was DC, the DC one that she did. And that's actually one of
Okay.
my favorite. It's actually hardbound too, but I like the color and stuff in it also. She went back and
Okay.
redid
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
coloration in all of them each time she did it. And then the most recent one, I don't have the ones they just did, but then went back and did black and white when they went and put them
Okay.
all out. And this is
Now,
the Dark Horse one. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Now, actually, this touches on another point. This is still running. This is one
oh,
of the longest. I believe this is one of the longest American indie
hmm,
series that's still running. That has
right.
achieved the popularity of it. Is that correct?
I I
Mhm.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I. I mean, that's what I mean. Oh, and actually, let me bring up the thing to show because Tom had shared a. Tom
Yeah,
had
of the
shared with me.
latest version of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
So
Yep.
you could go to, if you're interested in ElfQuest, you could go online at elfquest.com
Right.
to read them for free. Actually, I think there's almost all of them. I don't think they have like
Almost.
the latest and greatest, but yeah, of all the old stories, you could definitely, and especially the ones we're talking about today, you can read them for free on elfquest.com, or if you want to get your grimy mitts on a printed version of it, you can go to Amazon or wherever books are sold and get this is the newest version of it. The cover isn't as engaging as her previous covers, but the stuff inside are the same. But like Opal hasn't gotten this version. I don't know. She said she's bought
You
so
have
many
the
versions.
comic book ones too. I went back and collected most of them also. But yeah, got
Oh,
almost
oh,
every
good.
one except for that. Yeah, the newest ones I hadn't quite had the heart to spend the money on them again. Yeah, I want to. I want to support them, and that's what I end up doing a lot of times. Is because I'm like, yeah, it's still supporting them when I do it. It's not, but I feel like I'm collecting too much because I don't do anything with my collection. They're in comic book box, you know. So I get them out every once in a while, but Yeah, it's mostly to support them.
Yeah, this was not hard for me to get into at all. I like that too, and I like that. Well, I mean, I don't. It's pretty well laid out. I didn't really have any confusion over like what to go to and read. I mean, it seems to me like this still has a little bit of logic behind it. So, like in other words, if you see number one or
Hmm.
part one, and you see the first five, the fire and flight, that one it's not the one of the difficulties or the complaints for traditional comic books is like which Batman.
Oh yeah,
What decade, what artist, or what author, what it's like which one
Which
is that?
Robin? Which
Right.
Robin is with him?
Exactly. No, this is a breath of fresh air because it's just easy. It's just simple and it's just straightforward and it's easy to get into and it's compelling too. The more I don't know about you guys, of course, I can't ever recreate that. I didn't grow up with this, obviously, but
hmm
I found that the more that I read, the more that I was drawn into it, and I could easily see where you can easily go through the first, you know, 20 issues like no problem.
hmm and
Yeah, and we started with the second volume, so we missed out on that first issue where it kind of explains what the where the elves come from,
Sure.
and so yeah, there we were sort of like Cutter and Skywise. We had no clue what was going on and what they were going to discover on that second quest, but yeah, the it does tell a complete story, and yeah, you do definitely want to start with issue one. You'd be kind of confused, like we were a bit if you started a few issues in. But yeah, the cool thing about it being online and all there, you don't have to miss out. You can get like the first and but yeah, so yeah, we've been with it for decades. The stories have been with us, and it was also one of the very first fantasies I read. You know, I did. My sister and I both read the Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. And that was our first big fantasy as well. But this is you could kind of tell that this is a female writer. You know, it has a different tone and focus than what a traditional male fantasy story would tell. But
Sure.
yeah, that's what makes it kind of unique and
Well,
special.
just for this, just for Wendy, to get this off the ground, even the story of how it was created is unique and compelling anyway. Like, so my understanding is that it was originally published in Fantasy Quarterly, and then that magazine didn't, it went bye-bye. So instead of losing out on it, she decided to, she founded her own company, what called Warp Graphics, which stands for WARP. Wendy, I assume Wendy and Richard Penny,
yeah,
and graphics. These are really cool. and
yeah,
and then she had to start navigating the direct from publisher to rack, that business model, and that didn't exist, not like it does today. So she had to figure out everything on the fly while still building a business, and that is something that is taken for granted. That is expected of like when you make it, then then you have this business and that business and all these other things. But here we have an original. That's just really cool that happened.
well, and
That
her husband, I mean, he was the big part of that. I mean, if she hadn't had him, because they did that together, and he pretty much had to figure it out for her. And his job, he was what he was into astronomy. I mean, that was kind of where his field and everything. It's funny that he kind of dropped what he was doing for a living and went into figuring out how to start a comic book, you know, company. And so, yeah, they both they struggled a lot with that, but they had a lot of ups and downs, but yeah, they made it through. It took them a long time.
yeah,
Yeah,
and not only. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
I
Tom.
was just gonna say, she's been into Wendy Penny's been into fantasy forever.
Right.
One of the cool things that a little Easter egg I found, I started reading back during COVID, I guess it was. I started getting the Conan graphic or the big omnibuses of Conan the Barbarian and Savage Sword of Conan. that Marvel was putting out. And the cool thing about those was it included the letter page and whatnot, and the articles that were originally in Savage Sword, the stuff that they have licensed to. And one of those letters was from Wendy Pini, and one of the articles was at a convention that she was at, and she was dressing as Red Sonja. And it was kind of cool seeing her in those, and you could tell that she's was actively in fantasy even before ElfQuest.
Well, she's one of the original cosplay people. She made her costume and everything too.
Yeah, well, well, their story is so. I mean, it's. Just, I'm surprised that I'm sure the people who love it know about it, but it's just amazing that this all happened and I was clueless to it. You know, but and especially nowadays, like where every other major company or property that has a streaming service is looking for original content. It would be. I have no idea. I don't want. I only want to wish the best for ElfQuest as far as that goes. So if it ever does come on the big screen, I really would prefer that happen under Wendy and Richard's how they would want it to, because obviously they know what's best, and they've been able to, from decade to decade to decade, they've been able to stay relevant and build, not only just hold but build. Whereas like every other indie comic from like that time forward, like it's it's a very, very long road, and most of the time the road ends.
Yeah.
or they have to, or the artist has to stop what they're doing and then they go do a real job or whatever, and then they come back when they can, or when there's fandom or whatever, or a company wants to go through that. But she sidestepped all of this nonsense with that. So it's just again, I can't say that. But anyway, getting back to what this thing is, it's essentially like you were saying, Tom. This is their journey, and they have the original 20 issues was the original first journey, and so you guys came in on the second, the second quest.
Yeah.
Just so I'm understanding, right?
Yeah, 6 through 10, I guess it would be. Yeah.
Okay, 6 through 10. Okay, okay. It's still in the 20, but the way that it's broken down. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
not as familiar with that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. When we were originally reading it, we weren't really aware of the comic books that
Right,
were
you just
coming
liked
out,
it.
the issues. We collected the graphic novels, so whenever this time between, we quickly found out there was a first volume, got that, and then there was that long wait, year or longer wait in between when those graphic novels would come out, and we would highly anticipate those, and that really kind of had an effect on us. But yeah, the first quest is almost a love story basically,
Right.
and it's kind of in the second one's more of a, each of them is sort of a elf quest, but
Right.
the second storyline is a more proper quest, so to speak. But I guess the first few issues was a love quest, basically. And yeah, it's I think they get better as they go. But for the first 5 issues, for a love story, that I'm a guy, I'm not really into love stories. It does work, and it has a lot of different elements that makes it work. And like I was saying, there is like the flashbacks with his Cutter's dad, is the previous chieftain, and various stories there that kind of keep you engaged. And yeah, my favorite characters were Skywise and Pike. And then there was a huge fandom at the time. There was a club or whatever, a little fan base that they actually produced a newsletter called The Holt. And my sister and I, we became subscribers to it. And
One of
the
the
cool thing,
Oh, hold that up just a moment longer. Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
newsletter.
yeah, the
Oh, that's
newsletter,
really cool.
and
It was
and
actually, yeah, it actually had quite a bit of stuff in it. They
Oh,
did
that is cool.
stuff too. Yeah, and
and they
then
encouraged us to make our own smaller ones. So
very
Opal and her
cool.
friend and I, yeah,
We called it the plighter. I don't know who came up with that one, but my friend Amy, she was yeah. Oh, there's a drawing, one of your things, Thomas, in your character.
Yeah, yeah. I
Featuring,
came up, I came up with music wise.
yes.
That's
It was
awesome.
sort of a combination of Skywise and Pike. But yeah, which character did were you drawn to, Mike, as you
Yeah,
were reading it?
I really it wasn't hard. It
Mhm.
was the main guy. Sorry. That Cutter, excuse me, Cutter, and you know it's so funny too because the romance I obviously I read a little bit more than whatever because I did enjoy it quite a bit, but it's not hard to Cutter is just cool. Uh, he's not the strongest, he's not
Mhm.
the biggest, he's not the baddest, but he has a good head on his shoulders, I would say, and then he kind of knows. More importantly, he knows how to read people, I guess, or know his people, or know. I like that. I like that he is very well defined, but he still has some some evolution as a character too, and so does Leda and Skywise and Rayek and Rayek between the that starts as this might be getting into a little bit much, but oh well. You've been warned, audience. But Leta, Rayek and Leda's was like kind of that sets that natural trajectory of like here's the wreck and he's the one of her suitors or the one, and then here comes this guy out of the blue and
This
and then it goes from
barbarian, yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, because the sun folk people they see see themselves even amongst elves as like more, I don't know, I don't want to say refined or whatever, but you see the wolf riders coming in, and the sun folk don't really like them, or they don't quite know who this group is about and what's going on, anyway. But
Who are these roughnecks showing up and causing havoc? Yeah, yeah, and Cutter, he's a barbarian, but he's very much unlike Conan. He's not as self assured and doesn't always know the right way to handle every situation. But he has the love of his tribe, and he may not be the wisest, but he's willing to step up and
oh,
take
he's young,
take the
he's
slings and
young
arrows
and
and lead them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it shows that he's young. He's a young leader, and he's still got some learning and developing to do. And that's the appealing part of it. So you get a good start point. I don't know other than that, but I couldn't put it down once I started reading because it was uh, there was also a lot of other supporting characters, and the world building also was. Although you don't get too much of the world at large, I think that was by design to kind of at least for me, like that was by design of like, okay, your cone of knowledge is like this big, and then as it goes out a little bit, you get a little bit more, and I enjoy that world. That's one of the things that I like to see, and this I know that this has been compared with manga and anime, and that's great. But it's its own thing, and I can see the crossover, the appeal, some of the stylish things, but it's still its own unique thing. It's not. I mean, I can see where the that is, but with manga or anime, this is a little bit more direct on the ground, I think, than like a slice of life that you would get from like other ones like Tom and I have covered different ones over the years. One was Planetez, and that one's very kind of far away and arm's length, and this is kind of very much on the ground, and you I felt like you're supposed to, almost like you're supposed to be a part of the Wolf Riders tribe or clan. I don't know, but that's the I appreciated the closeness of the story. It wasn't theoretical or or whatever. There's direct consequences to what these characters do, and you have immediate feedback too of like this happened. Now some things happen a little bit further along, like just like a normal plot or whatever. But how about you guys? What do you guys have like a favorite arc or story, or is it just the nostalgia of the second one that really just is always going to be number one.
I don't know
Yes,
if
sir.
it's I don't know if it's biased, but yeah, I think that second story is what really kind of solidifies everything, and is always going to be the unique one for me. But Opal, what's your favorite?
Oh gosh. I guess really I would have to say the way we read it as graphic novels. The first they were four graphic novels were the original stories. I like that as a whole, I guess, because I always look at it as that being the whole story because it had a very beginning and a very end to it. And
Mhm.
she wrote more stories after that, like Kings of the Broken Wheel, and then went on and did other stories. But I still have, uh, I don't know, I guess because I read the original for, in that those stories I like the best. I like some of the newer stuff too, but I still like her original stories more.
Hmm. Oh, Opal, you've collected. I don't have a very big collection of ElfQuest stuff, but you've collected quite a few different things. Would you like to show off some of the stuff that you've gotten over the years, and also your focus may be a little off there.
Well, in the background here, I've got the only um, like they didn't do all of them, but they started with Cutter and they did Lita and Picnos and Edak. I guess is how you say his name. He was the one of the later here, so he wouldn't be familiar with him. But they only got these four made. They were going to do more. That was kind of cool. Um, but, and then I also had the little figures and stuff, the metal figures. You know, the ones that you could paint and stuff. The oh
Sort of
goodness,
like
I've got them in a box
Warhammer,
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for those of role playing game, and then I had the role playing game too. They re-released that one recently too. Oh,
Hmm.
and this is not that great, but I bought it anyway. It did do this Fire and Flight. It's a VHS,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and it's the original art and everything, but it's like not real motion. It's really, yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah,
But
like where they show a scene of the characters and then they kind of do an artificial camera pan or something like that or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I had to get it just because it's ElfQuest, and then of course I have many other things. Like here's one of the
Yeah.
boxes of the figurines that I was talking about. But
Yeah, you
you
know
could.
what, Tom, you had asked me what my favorite, and obviously Cutter is good, and I actually did enjoy his brother, Skywise,
Hmm.
a lot. He was funny, anyway, sorry. It's just now I get to think about it.
I
That's
can't really
awesome.
show it. Oh wow, I'm not really doing this right. Where's the camera? Turn it. Where's my camera? It's right here. Right here. Yes, there we go. I
Yeah,
did a
there you
little
go.
bit of, yeah, they had those. Yeah, so I've collected all of those too. And then in college, I didn't know how to draw. I painted this horrible thing in college. Or no, this is high school. Never mind. I did this in high school when I didn't know how to paint. So that was one of the things in ElfQuest. Y'all vaguely probably recognize that, but yeah.
Hmm.
But I have gotten better, and I like to do things at my library, and I turned this into a poster. It's like
That's awesome.
you can, yeah, you do. But yeah, I've got a lot of the ElfQuest stuff. They, believe it or not, they even published they have something called the Gatherums that they did that is like the history of ElfQuest, and then there's also a book that they did that someone did called the Wolf Rider's Guide, and it's like an encyclopedia of
Okay.
ElfQuest. So there's a ton of things that they have published through the years, and
Hmm.
he's also done other things too besides ElfQuest. She actually did the Beauty and the Beast graphic novel. And the art, I mean, it looked just like Was it Linda Hamilton that played in the television series of Beauty and the Beast? That's what they turned into a graphic novel, and she did all the art and everything for that. It was really cool. But
Yeah.
she's done other things besides just.
Yeah, but yeah, and of course, has been kind of the main line that she's done. But yeah, like Opal says, she's done some extra things. But yeah, ElfQuest has gone through many different iterations. You had the Warp Graphics version of it. Marvel's published it. DC has published it.
Oh,
It's currently with Dark Horse. There's also been novelizations. There's a novel of
Oh
of
gosh,
the first series. What's that, Opal?
yeah, and manga versions of it too. I only
Oh,
that's
collected a few.
crazy.
Yeah, they've done a lot of different ones. Yeah, and they
yeah.
have yeah.
And there was a book series about the 10 chiefs of the wolf tribes, and it was like broken up into short stories, and different people wrote the short stories, and then it became a comic book as well.
Oh,
But
And
yeah,
kind
that's
of
crazy.
there's
yeah,
all
that was
sorts of interesting things. Yeah.
So at this point, there's a whole well-defined ElfQuest universe.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
they have the books, the actual books, written versions of them too. Yeah. So yeah, they've
that's
had a
awesome.
lot. Yeah. And the only time they've ever done a really good interview with Wendy and Richard Pini, they did this a few years ago. They finally got on the comic book creator magazine, and it's where they did an in-depth interview with Wendy and Richard Pini, and they were both ecstatic that they got to do that. They were actually, it's like a honor to be interviewed for that, and it was issue number 23, and I made sure I got. But yeah, because I got to hear more about their struggles and their whole history, so it was really cool. And then it's funny how they met. Have y'all ever heard how Wendy and Richard met?
No,
No, go ahead.
Oh, actually, it was in, how you used to be able to write into the backs of comic books, and the back section talk, that you would talk about whatever comic book that you had read. It would appear in the back of the magazine or the comic book. Well, she had written something into one of them, and I forgot which comic book it was. But they used to print the people's addresses and names in there.
oh
And
wow,
Richard,
Yeah.
that's how he wrote to her, was through that. He, and that's how they met, was through a comic book, which is amazing. They
It kind of
did
makes
stuff in
sense.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
anyway.
I also liked she has a very good cadence and knows how to tell a story. When you get to know the characters, too, like as it goes out, like you, Tom, you had mentioned that the first one is pretty much how kind of a romance, but it's not
Mhm.
necessarily that on the 10. When they first recognize each other, it's a little bit more of a I don't know. I don't know how I feel, but
Yeah, they
I
kind of
definitely
both kind of resisted. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I don't feel love at first sight. That's for sure. It's not a Disney romance or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, she has a big struggle with the Cutter's more into it than she is. But yeah, it's yeah, this is not your typical romance story, and you're not your typical elf story either. Yeah, it's
Well,
interesting that she kind of does like the traditional elf troll kind of fantasy tropes, but puts it on its head and kind of changes it up a little bit.
you also have this strong character that says no. Like no,
Hmm.
dude, I'm not. No, we're not doing that. I'm not into that. That, that's pretty pretty exceptional because I mean I'm not a girl, but growing up there was. I mean, yeah, you had a few strong characters here or there, but I mean, there is a reason why the characters were drawn the way they were to a certain degree, not all the time, but there's a certain thing, and they kind of get uh, I don't know, tokenized, I guess, a little bit or whatever, or just one dimensional would be another way to say it. But that's not true with any of the characters in this series. I will happy to say that each character has their there's a little bit of a rough spot or a hook or a angle. I don't know what you want to call it, to like where you want to wait a second. What they do? You kind of want to, and I have no doubt that that would be that would be rewarded a little bit later on in the series, where maybe that character comes back or not. I could be wrong, but so far, what's promised and has been delivered is I. I enjoyed the fact that, like, it's not I didn't quite expect it to be like Sesame Street. Obviously it's more than that, but it was so much more mature than or serious, not necessarily mature as like inappropriateness or adult content necessarily per se. I mean, there's some stuff there that's would be maybe make people blush a little bit, but it I don't think I've read that or that kind of level of seriousness in comic books that I grew up with until, I don't know, I was for a while in my 20s, and I realized that there were other comic books that were not just whatever they're serious ones. There were ones that that had nothing to do with superheroes or any of that stuff. I guess the better way to put it would be non-superhero comic books.
Yeah, and there's certain comic books where or stories that you want to share with people. This is one of those where once you read it, you become like in a cult and you want to spread it. It's one of those that through my childhood and then going into adulthood, if anyone showed any type of interest in either fantasy or comic books, this would be the first one I'd push and force on to people. It's like you got to read it, and it's one of those that the art is so engaging and unique that for a first time person kind of coming at it, they're instantly interested. It's always kind of like, oh, what's this? So there's like there may be a more of a feeling of acceptance to it than your average fantasy story. There's like the art is sort of like the bridge to get you in, but it also tells really really good stories. But I know Opal's kind of like that too. You've kind of spread the love of ElfQuest throughout your years, getting people into it.
Well, I can see
Oh
why
yeah.
people love it. You can literally, you can almost find a part of you, or yourself, or something something that is unique to you, that touches you, that is, I don't
You
know.
could relate to, yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Like there's a lot there. And I like that it's also pretty well balanced. Like I wouldn't be able to tell, like, if they're nowadays, like if it were, I'm just making this up a little bit, but Opal, you kind of touched on it a little bit, like the PC stuff or whatever. Like if a woman wrote this, then you would know it. I mean, like whether it was warranted or not, or what, or if it's I don't know, if there was a such thing as a first half leprechaun, half human, you would have to know that was what there were more than, well, are they a good writer? Or what's the compelling part to that story? She just writes, and good writers, good directors, good artists, they have good vision, and I like that she didn't have to compromise, because you can absolutely tell if she would have been caught in a situation to where, well, we like it, but we want you to cut this, and that, which I have no doubt. It sounds like she's had that conversation before with several companies through the things, and I'm glad that her answer's been, nah, that's okay, I'm good. You'll come back to me when you're ready to talk to me, and that's very true. Like you said, Tom, in '85, I think she did a deal to expand it to a wider audience through Marvel. And I'm glad. I'm also glad to see that only lasted for a few years, because I would get very nervous, if you start to have more and more and more appearance, and then essentially it's just another not Marvel comic, but just the check hasn't been cashed in or whatever. But thankfully that's not the case for this. Do you
Yeah,
guys have? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. Lita didn't become a Disney princess.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I keep forgetting that Disney did buy Marvel, and then I'm reminded about it.
Yeah, yeah. And even though she did publishing through Marvel, she never gave up the rights to it.
No, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm glad that they didn't give us the rights to any of that. But they did get some other artists in to help at one point in doing some of their comics. That Sunny Straight, I think is his name, did some art for them at one point later on, because she did start having some issues with her hands and wrists from all the detailed art that she was doing, and had to get a little help. Yeah, that kind of stuff happens to me for a while. Yeah.
Yeah,
She does a lot more of the, I think, coloration with the digital stuff now too, to help her out.
yeah, and they've made some advances in that. Yeah, I think in her latest story, which was about Skywise, she didn't do the art for that. She had someone else, right?
I
On
think,
that.
I mean, yeah, she didn't do as much detailed art, but yeah, and I think Sunny might have did some too, but I think she did do a lot of the color. Maybe she might have done the actual drawing line art herself, but I think the like the coloration of it and stuff, I think was maybe more digital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
But
Oh, I was just gonna say, because we're probably wrapping things up, but yeah, as a story, the first 20 issues, the first four graphic novels are kind of a complete story. She has told other stories along the way and done different things like the 10 chieftains stories. But yeah, if you're you don't have to expand out. If you just want a really good story, you could read those first 20 issues and have a satisfying story and go on your day. But with everything that's disinteresting, you want to do more. So, but yeah, if someone's kind of intimidated by the this decades old story, that they could just kind of dive into those first 20 issues, make that commitment, and then go from there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this. I think that one of the things that I liked about it, and that continued to be true, was there isn't like it's not. I mean, it's critical to where you start out and who you start out with in their journey, and then it becomes a bigger, wider thing as it does. But it's not. You're not starting in, and it's not like the galaxy is collapsing, and we have to. It's epic and grand on this in the sense that, like, well, when you get married or when you have kids, it's epic and grand for you, but but you're also part of it. It's also kind of another Tuesday. It's not. There's a little bit more nuance, like I said, like I had mentioned, Rick, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But like, he's not a villain. Like, even after he's like done and lost. Like, for example, I won't spell too much more than that, but he's not treated as like like, uh, they still have to live together, I guess is what I'm saying. They
Mhm.
still have to live and work together, and it doesn't matter if you don't like that guy. They operate like I don't know, like an extended family, I guess. I don't want to put too many words on that. And people far better than I have categorized it, from what I'd read. But it's I like that there's nuance in there, and it's about, it really is, again, it's about the journey and the quest. I don't want to be so cliche, but it is. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
fun part. Like, where they are on a quest, but they're also not just to go on a quest just for a quest's sake. Like, again, I go back to, like, like a more tropified story or plot. Like, where it's some epic grand. And there's nothing wrong with that too. But I guess that's kind of the price you pay for living in. I guess that's what the price that fantasy stories pay. Maybe more so than like well, I mean, Star Wars has its own. I mean, excuse me, sci-fi has its own traps and gullies that has to watch out for. But I really enjoyed this, and I would like to maybe do this, maybe explore the universe a little bit more, because I think that I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but we talked more about the it existing as a concept, which I think is important to balance with this, because we want more people to get out there and see it. And again, I'm sure I'm sure people are discovering this every day, and that's really cool. And it's even cooler that, hopefully, if is there like a broader community out there that's kind of well accepted for different tiers of fans, I guess, or ways that fans kind of come in. Like where, I guess, what does that look like if anything at all? Obviously, I'm sure they go to conventions and whatnot, but
Yeah, they do. Yeah, not as much as many anymore because they are getting older and can't travel as much. So I've told Thomas about this before that I'd love to meet them, but they stay up in the north part of the United States, like near New York area, and sometimes
okay.
come down on the Chicago areas for the comic book conventions. But yeah, they don't go real far out anymore.
Yeah, and there's back in the day we had those newsletters and we had the little pocket fandoms that we kind of created. But today, I think both of me and Opal are in the ElfQuest, one of the ElfQuest groups on Facebook, and I'm sure there's a Reddit group, and yeah, there's different places where fans kind of congregate and are like-minded, and if they get some new cool thing of ElfQuest, they show it off. Like that, like Opal's saying, they've been remaking, putting out the role playing game that they had came out with, and people were excited and taking pictures of that. So yeah, even though the fans have aged, they're still definitely fans out there that, and like you said, Mike, they're constantly growing. So
Right.
so yeah, if you've seen this, I'm sure I'll advertise it on at least the ElfQuest Facebook group. I'll post a link. So if you're coming over from there,
Well,
hello.
yeah, well, it
Mhm.
also does something, and I think this is probably more unique to fantasy. I think that in sci-fi, sometimes you'll have like a big debate, big old knockdown, drag out debate or conversation, like a friendly conversation, like where you debate different aspects of this or that, and you kind of take it to the nth degree. This also has that in abundance. But I also like how some of the questions that you would naturally ask from reading this could lead into some really cool or very interesting, deeper discussions that shows you the depth of it. And I have no doubt that would occur if I were to find my nearest group and, and nerd out on. I don't know if that would be. It'd probably be on Reddit. I would guess, but I'm not sure. But yeah, is there anything else, Opal, that you think we missed, or that the people out there that should know?
Mhm. Um, I, not that I can think of.
Yeah, I think the central part of this is about, even though they're elves, they're human. There's a very human story to it. It's not like Lord of the Rings. They're not taking some ancient ring to destroy this epic evil. It's more about self discovery and who we are as a people, and it's more of a personal quest of finding out where they came from, who they are. And who hasn't done a personal quest, and so it reaches out to that human aspects of all of us, and it tells a more personal story, but I think it's much universal for being that.
Indeed.
So yeah, not your typical fantasy. Definitely check it out if you're into fantasy. Even if you're not into fantasy, this may be that one fantasy that you enjoy. So yeah, definitely check it out. And thank you, Opal, for giving us your time and hanging out with us, talking about ElfQuest. Was there any plugs or things you want to talk about? I know you work in the library. I don't know if you want to do a shout out to the library or not.
Oh no, no, sorry. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, well, we appreciated it. Yeah, I was going to say too that this was. I really enjoyed this one. This is. You don't find too many of these, and I'm hoping that my daughter will pick this up and enjoy it in her own right. She's a mid-teen, so she's well on her way of anything that I say is not cool. So I can't just plop it on that and say you should read this. It would be uncool, but who knows? But
Yeah, maybe
but
get the physical copy and lay it out on the on the table so like she could discover it on her own. But yeah, um, But yeah, definitely worth checking out. And yeah, if you're into comics, was this the comic that brought you to the comic world? Tell us
Absolutely.
stories down in our comments, and let's get our own little conversation going.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is great fantasy to get into. It's not, it's a lot. I think it's a lot easier than other, like epic grand, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
they're not trying to save the world. They're
no,
just
they're
trying to
not.
say they're just trying to save themselves and find out who they are.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom, and thank you for joining us, Opal.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.